Okay, now we will start with our prayers. अरे यार, एक मिनट, ये ऊपर चले जाए तो आई थिंक दिस। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि
भगवत्पादं
शंकरं
शंकरं
लोक शंकरम। अभी बोल दो पूरा।
श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद लोक शंकरं।
वेरी नाइस। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः।
शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः।
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्।
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्।
Very nice. ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः।
ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः।
ओम दयानंदेश्वराय नमः।
ओम दयानंदेश्वराय नमः।
Okay, now we have come to the text. Okay, Shri Harim Paramanandam
श्रीहरिं परमानन्दम्
उपदेष्टारमीश्वरम्
उपदेष्टारमीश्वरम्
व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां
व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां
कारणं तं नमाम्यहम्।
कारणं तं नमाम्यहम्।
अपरोक्षानुभूतिर्वै
अपरोक्षानुभूतिर्वै
रोचते मोक्षसिद्धये।
रोचते मोक्षसिद्धये।
सद्भिरेषा प्रयत्नेन
तद्भिरेषा प्रयत्नेन
वीक्षणीया मुहुर्मुहुः।
वीक्षणीया मुहुर्मुहुः।
वाव, मैंने और भी बड़ा कर दिया, but it went off somewhere. Okay, number 3, right? स्ववर्णाश्रम धर्मेण तपसा हरितोषणात् साधनं प्रभवेत् पुंसाम् वैराग्यादिचतुष्टयम्। ब्रह्मादिस्थावरान्तेषु वैराग्यं विषयेष्वनु। यथैव काकविष्टायां वैराग्यं तद्धि निर्मलम्।
वैराग्यं
वैराग्यं
तद्विधि
तद्विधि
निर्मलम्
नित्यमात्मस्वरूपं हि
नित्यम्
नित्यमातं
आत्मस्वरूपं
स्वरूपं
हि
हि
दृश्यं तद्विपरीतगम्
दृश्यं
दृश्यं
तद्विपरीतगम्
तद्विपरीतगम्
एवं यो निश्चयः सम्यग्
एवं
एवं
यो
यो
निश्चय
निश्चय
सम्यक्
सम्यक्
विवेको वस्तु न स वै
विवेको
विवेको
वस्तु
वस्तु
न
न
स वै
सदैव वासनात्यागः
सदैव
सदैव
वासनात्यागः
वासनात्यागः
शमो शमोऽयमिति शब्दितः
शमोऽयमिति
शमोऽयमिति
शब्दितः
निग्रहो बाह्यवृत्तीनां
निग्रहो
निग्रहो
बाह्यवृत्तीनां
बाह्यवृत्तीनां
दम इत्यभिधीयते
दम
दम
इत्यभिधीयते
इत्यभिधीयते
Okay, that's where we are. Now, I don't remember where we stopped.
It is as page 73, last para, we have to do intellect versus
Versus
emotion.
emotion. Okay. So, in this first portion, Swamiji says that the manifest requires the unmanifest. Means everything is in unmanifest condition first. Means everything is potentially there and it will, it will emerge. So, in the unmanifest condition, it is called as karana, right? Okay. And the manifest is the karya, the effect. Okay. And it is the cause which becomes manifest as the effect. So, the thoughts in our mind, what is important here, the thoughts in our mind are the effects of something. And that something is the unmanifest. Yeah. The vasanas which are there. Okay. So, right now, it is now because it's unmanifest, we don't know what they are. So what we know is what is manifest, and what is manifest is the raga dvesha. Iti. It is the raga dvesha, and so we deal with the raga dvesha. Then he said this very nice thing. The first three items, shama, dama, uparati, are nothing but vairagya put in practice. Very nice. Sixfold, shama, dama, uparati. So understanding vairagya is one thing, but assimilating vairagya to have it become your way of life is quite a different thing. Okay. So, because we study and we are all got good minds, we understand that everything is anitya, everything is mithya. I think. That is understanding. But I call it as there's a difference in our emotional understanding. And emotional understanding I call as the heart. So there is a difference between the head and the heart. Okay? They seem to be two different things. Okay. Okay. Then now Swamiji talks about the same thing, intellect versus emotion. In Vedanta, we use the term antakarana. Such a beautiful term, no? Antakarana. Literally meaning the internal instrument. And see how clear Shastra is. Straight away it has called it as karana. Karana means it's not you. And therefore it is whatever it produces is also not you. It's karana. Karana, an instrument. Yeah, it is what you use as an instrument. It is the inner instrument. Literally inner internal instrument to designate the mind as a whole. Sometimes it is described as having four qualities. Auntie mein note pe aa gayi 73, page 73. Manas, mind, buddhi, intellect, chitta, memory, and ahankara, ego. And sometimes it is reduced to two, manas and buddhi. So we are at the in page 73, the last paragraph, intellect versus emotion. Yeah. ठीक है, उसमें से पहले पैराग्राफ हमने कर दिया है, सेकेंड पैराग्राफ. Here we look at the personality as consisting primarily of manas, emotion, and buddhi, intellect. Everyone is both an emotional person and a thinking person. And behavior is usually dictated by various emotions. Swamiji wants to call it as impulses that arise in the mind. People are usually impulsive. I will also use one more word. People are usually mechanical. Impulsive also means here हम मैकेनिकली करते हैं ना, हमारी कॉन्शियस बुद्धि बहुत होती नहीं है, कोई इमोशन आ गया मन के अंदर और दैट विल डिक्टेट आवर बिहेवियर.
मैं थोड़ा बाजार को जा रहा हूँ, 1GC.
It's okay. Let him say he is going to bazaar. People are usually impulsive, so when attachment or aversion arises, they act accordingly. People are usually mechanical. Okay? Means जो अपने ऑलरेडी प्रोग्राम हुआ है वो ही उसके ऊपर ही हम एक्ट करते हैं. Okay? This has been our habit all along. Viveka and Vairagya are still primarily at the level of intellect or understanding. That understanding needs to be translated into our behavior. We have to walk the talk, as they say. Talk is Viveka and Vairagya, and walk is Samadhi Shatka Sampatti. I really like this, Sometimes Swamiji has very unique ways of, presenting. Badhiya laga, eh? So now it is Bhatia uncle's turn. Unless there's something you didn't understand, eh?
So, Guru Maharaj, what is this walk the talk? Literally meaning like
walk the talk means you actually do what you say. That means there's what do you say? Integration in the personality, and you are able to, your understanding is one thing, and what you do sometimes can be quite different from your understanding. So what Swamiji is saying is your understanding and what you do, okay, are the same. So your understanding, what you feel and do are the same. That means you have walked your talk. Okay. जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, politicians they never walk their talk. वो कुछ बोलेंगे और कुछ करेंगे.
So there was a program like Walk the Talk, you see, it was coming. They used to interview some politicians, you see.
हाँ वही होगा.
That is the Walk the Talk they were.
क्योंकि they don't walk their talk.
So while they were
बड़े-बड़े promises देंगे और उनको करते नहीं है, उसको इलेक्शन में ले आओ, फिर वो लोग कर नहीं पाते हैं. So they are not walking their talk. They are only talking. With no walking. No? So, yeah. Now I forgot where I am. No?
The
The emotional mind is what interacts with the world. 74.
You have to read.
It is important to understand that it is the manas, not the buddhi, which interacts with the world. Manas is the habitual faculty, the behaving faculty, the reacting faculty, the emotional faculty. This faculty receives stimuli from and responds to the world. Ideally, the stimuli that comes to the mind are referred to the intellect. The intellect then makes a decision, tells the mind to do a given thing, and the mind does it. Swami Chinmayananda ji used to say that intellect is like an officer in a government office, and the mind is like a clerk. The clerk interacts with the people who come in. When you submit a request, the clerk takes notes and then the officer makes a decision accordingly. The officer ultimately depends upon the clerk. however, and whatever notes that fellow takes are the basis for his decision.
Imagine, if this Manas is sitting there like a clerk and sending notes to the intellect, and this clerk is behaving completely mechanically based upon ragadvesha, and then accordingly sending notes to intellect, बढ़िया बढ़िया गुलाब जामुन आ गया है, खाना चाहिए, तो इंटेलेक्ट बोलते खाना चाहिए, और उसको पकड़ के खा लेगा. इस तरह से if you have a clerk which is out of hand clerk, uncontrollable clerk, then there will be chaos. Okay.
Similarly, when I perceive something, the mind takes note. Something is likable, good, desirable, etc. Then the intellect makes a decision. Okay, mind, go and get it. Sometimes the mind says, oh, this is undesirable. Then the intellect says, okay, get rid of it. If the intellect is dependent upon this mind, as it often is, then it is the mind which rules the roost and controls all our behavior in a given situation.
Yeah. So this is the way even psychology more or less says the same thing. Thoughts, actually they will say that thought arises, feeling comes after that. So you get a thought and then you get a feeling, but that feeling then feeds the next thought and then you get another feeling. So you have a thought feeling loop which controls your behavior. Okay, Anita?
Haji. Actions are generally dictated by impulse. Most people's actions are dictated by the emotional faculty of the mind and its impulses. Branding something as desirable and undesirable is instantaneous. I see a person or even think of someone and some reaction arises. Or I see something and I want to have it. The mind immediately brands things because its habits are already built in. Past experiences create samskaras. Impressions that
1 minute, we are on page 75, Sarojanti. Okay.
Impressions that have become habits. A channel is already carved in the mind, and new thoughts automatically flow through that channel. So when I see things, there is an almost instantaneous response. We call it spontaneous, but it is actually impulsive and based upon past experiences.
Yeah, it is very mechanical and very quick, very, very quick. The brain responds so quickly. I remember somewhere I had read that anger will arise in 1/30th of a second. 1 second के 1/30th of a second पे anger हो जाती है. So it is so very quick, how we respond, the brain programming which is there is a very, very quick thing. Okay, now we are with Sony uncle, and
Yes.
the topic is Vasana is the unmanifest seed of habit.
Vasana is the unmanifest seed of habit. Even if I have an understanding that I should not react, the mind often reacts out of habit. A habit is manifest in the mind, but the manifest seed of the habit is called vasana. Usually we react because of vasana without thinking of the consequences. Our pattern of thinking, deciding and acting are all built in and usually control how we are. Therefore, I am only as good as my vasana. We generally say, as the mind, so the man. But really, it should be as the vasana, so the mind, and so the man. If you do not like the word Vasana, you may call it Raga Dvesha. Vasana is the casual state of Raga Dvesha. Raga Dvesha itself is a Vasana because Raga Dvesha manifests as behavior.
Yeah, let's pause here. So, this Vasana is a very interesting thing because it is unmanifest, and we can know it only by our action. Actually, when we come out and act in the world, then we know, aha, ek Vasana padi hai idhar. Meaning, Vasana, then the next step in the manifest form is the Raga Dvesha, and Raga Dvesha will control your action. And then your first time you will know that you have that Raga is when you act. When you act upon something, you know that इसके प्रति मेरा राग है, इसके प्रति मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता नहीं है तो it's etc. You feel like that. Okay? Then Swamiji says, therefore I am only as good as my vasanas. क्योंकि वासना is the unmanifest form जो राग द्वेष आएगा. I am only as good as my raga dveshas is another way you can say it also. Okay. Yeah.
If you do not like the word Vasana, you can call it Raga Dvesha. It means Vasana is unmanifest, but Raga Dvesha is manifest.
Yeah, but since in as much as raga dvesha is inbuilt in the vasana, it's coming from the vasana. Therefore, he says, and it's unmanifest, you can't see it, then you call it raga dvesha. You see, in our parampara, there was some objection to the word vasana, okay? Because there is this line of thought in Vedanta circles called vasana kshaya, that there should be complete cessation of vasana and only then you can have moksha. This kind of a thinking is there. Our parampara does not go along with that vasana kshaya method. Swami, we seems to somehow, go in that direction. And so I will keep correcting that. So I will show why we don't go along with it afterwards.
Vasana is the casual state of Raga Dvesha. Raga Dvesh itself is a Vasana because Raga Dvesh manifests as a behavior.
Yeah.
Very interestingly, this text says, Sada Iva Vasana Tyaga. Give up Vasana all the time. But how can we give up Vasana if it is unmanifest? If Vasana becomes manifest as desire and impulse, as anger, lust, or greed. These are all results of the built-in pattern called Vasana. And ultimately, we have to make our mind free from Vasana because as long as they are there, they will continue to dictate our behavior.
Yeah. So I will just give a little, little note on this. Okay. To the extent vasanas create binding desires in us. Okay. To that extent, you need to work on them. So what you will work on is binding desire. Now, supposing I have a preference for dosa. That's all. That preference for dosa is coming from where? It is coming from vasana only. But it's no more a binding desire. Because it's not a binding desire, I don't have to bother about that vasana. Okay? There's no need to bother about it. It's only a preference. वो है तो ठीक है, वो नहीं है तो कोई बात नहीं. So I will modify this to the extent and say, to the extent that binding desires are there, to that extent you need to work with those binding desires. And if your binding desire becomes a non-binding desire, that's okay. The vasana may be still there somewhere. It may prompt you to say, that, okay, today I will have dosa. Please make dosa for me. But there is no dosa batter in the house. If there is no dosa batter in the house, then is my heart going to be broken? Am I going to fall into a depression? Am I going to say that my life adhura reh gaya? मुझे dosa के बिना मैं नहीं रह सकती हूँ. Will I throw a tantrum? You see, some people will throw tantrum. If they are throwing tantrum, then they have to work on that. Okay, because that vasana is controlling them. So if your vasana is not controlling you, if it is just something which is there, it may come up, tuck, it may come up in the mind, but you say no, it's okay. Yeah. So therefore, only to that extent, to the extent it's something is very binding on you, you that then it's your duty to work on it. Duty what? Duty as a sadhaka. Okay, not everybody's duty. If you recognize yourself as a sadhaka, that okay, my role is a sadhaka role, or this is what is of interest to me in my life, then you will work on it. But if nobody is even aware what moksha is and उनको कोई नहीं है, then they will say okay क्या, in fact they will be dictated by their binding ragadveshas. Okay. हाँ. So I interestingly wrote a thought here. Now, supposing I have this binding, I'm going to throw a tantrum if my dosa batter is not there. Okay. I have this binding desire for dosa. Then, and my dosa batter is not there. Tantrum aa raha hai. Then I should ask myself this question: what need of mine will be fulfilled if I fulfill this desire? This particular raga or dvesha, now we make it generic. If I fulfill that, what need of mine will be fulfilled? Okay, so that is a very good clue, because when we have, it is the need. The need means I feel apurna unless that is there in my life. And then to fulfill that sense of apurnata, that desire is there that if I get this, then my apurnata will go. Iti. So the need, we have to see what need of mine is being fulfilled when I, by this desire, if I fulfill this desire. If I don't fulfill this desire, can I be happy? Somebody can ask, can I will, is it possible for me to be happy? If my answer is no, then it's a binding desire. If my answer is yes, it's possible for me to be happy without this fulfilling this desire, then it's not a binding desire. Yeah. And as I told you last time, supposing you have this scale of 1 to 10. Okay, will you be happy if you don't get, okay, I'm taking an extreme case, okay, only that is coming in my head, what to do, right? There's this bachelor, okay, now he has been listening to all these stories of the Sonam and the blue drum lady and पता नहीं कितने कितने पत्नियां अपने हस्बैंड्स को विद इन 2-3 days वो लोग निकाल देते हैं अपने लाइफ में से ही. So this bachelor is there and he's being asked that will you be happy without a wife? Supposing you don't get wife, will you be happy? On a scale of 1 to 10, you tell me, will you be happy if you don't get wife? He has just listened to this blue drum story, to Sonam, there's another lady called Aishwarya and pata nahi kitne kitne hain.
Yes.
No, then this fellow says, yeah, I'll be very happy. No problem, no problem. No wife, no problem. Yeah. Then, and if he's really happy, then that binding desire for wife is not there with him. Supposing he says on a scale of 1 to 10, 5. My happiness will be 5. If I get wife, 5. If I don't get wife, also 5. I will be happy. He's in the middle scale. Are you happy with 5? This much of happiness, only number 5 happiness. And he says yes. I am happy with that. It's enough for me. Then also it's not binding for him. Yeah. So that way we ask that question. Okay. Now we come to how to be free of vasanas. So last time I had shown you that chart, of the hierarchy of needs that we have. So that's a very interesting chart. I will send it to you on the WhatsApp group. So today I forgot about it. So I have not brought up the file. Otherwise, I would have shown you today. How to be free of asanas. That is Sarojanti. सरोजांटी एक
Yes.
सेंटेंस में आपको स्टॉप होगा ना तो आप हॉल्ट करेंगी है क्योंकि कभी कभी मैं कमेंट मारती हूँ है इसलिए आप थोड़ा सा एक ब्रीफ पॉज कर देना कमेंट नहीं मार रही हूँ तो आप आगे बढ़ जाना
Okay, thank you. How to be free of vasanas? Ideally, the way of free oneself of vasana is to cultivate the opposite vasana. If one has the vasana of anger, for example, one must deliberately practice its opposite, namely compassion and accommodation.
ओके
This
आंटी स्टॉप स्टॉप फुल स्टॉप आ गई हाँ now I have a different take on this anger bit yeah this accommodation and compassion is at the level of your behavior, right? When you are going to respond to the person. But before that, before you can come even to this position of this responding with compassion and accommodation, before that you will need to process your anger. नहीं तो वो पाइल अप करती जाएगी क्योंकि आपने उसका समाधान नहीं किया है तो what is the first is understand what is the need behind the anger which is not we get angry when our need is not fulfilled हमारे अंदर कोई है need means some जरूरत okay something which we feel we need उसके बिना मेरा लाइफ अधूरा रह जाएगा that's called a need so there is some need the person has that need is not being fulfilled when that need is not being fulfilled the person's automatic reaction is anger there will be hurt and there will be anger both these things so one should understand oneself no ki where am I coming from very often we feel disrespected and we get angry now what happens when we feel disrespected we get angry we don't realize that I am feeling disrespected instead we blame the other person उसने ऐसे बोला भले उसने वैसे बोला पर आप अपने आप को रिस्पेक्ट कर रहे हो कि नहीं इते okay so understanding our need is the first thing why am I getting I think I sent you all a post right of what are many needs which normally there which when they are not fulfilled that emotion of anger will come so when we understand that this particular need of mine is not being fulfilled yeah then we can try to get it fulfilled sometimes we'll be able to ask the other person that please ये मुझे गुस्सा आ रहा है क्योंकि ये हुआ है तो प्लीज आप मुझे इसमें हेल्प करो and sometimes you can't ask certain people you can't ask still then you will ask yourself the question that how can I fulfill this need and learn from that mera is need hai I have this need and when this need is not being fulfilled I feel angry so first understand your need process your need after that when you process your need you become thanda then when you become thanda it is very easy to respond with compassion and with accommodation and etc xyz okay so even if you respond with compassion and accommodation but inside you are festering आपके अंदर एंगर है तो you must go through the steps of understanding your need and I would say this is true for every kind of binding desire that we have. Okay, what is the need which I have which is being fulfilled by this? Okay? Iti. Okay, auntie.
This can then neutralize the already existing tendency. This is called pratipaksha bhavana, which means deliberately entertaining the bhavana attitude that is pratipaksha, opposed or contrary to that impulsive attitude.
इधर देखिए, सपोजिंग वो नीड फुलफिल नहीं हो सकता है, ठीक है, आपने सोचा एक्सटर्नल से नहीं हो सकता है और अपने में भी वो नहीं हो पा रहा है, ओके, then at least you are able to say, because we are sadhakas, you are able to say नमः, ओके, ये भगवान की इच्छा होगी कि यही हो कि मेरे ये नीड फुलफिल ना हो, एंड देयरफॉर ठीक है, आई एक्सेप्ट इट, नमः, मैं सरेंडर करता हूँ, भगवान को सरेंडर करता हूँ, न तो और किसी को, कि नमः ठीक है, ये ठीक है करके आप नमः बोल दिया, एंड देन बिकॉज यू हैव स्टडीड एंड यू नो अबाउट प्रतिपक्ष भावना, फिर उसके बाद आपने प्रतिपक्ष भावना यूज करो, या आपने प्रतिपक्ष भावना यूज किया पर अंदर जल रहे हैं या अंदर कुछ हो रहा है, आपका समाधान नहीं हुआ है, तो समाधान हो जाएगा व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये पॉसिबल नहीं है, तो इसलिए इसके लिए हम सरेंडर करते हैं, ठीक है, एक्सेप्टेंस आ जाती है, एक्सेप्टेंस आती है, ओके।
This is how Vasana Tyaga take place, namely by deliberately cultivating new Vasanas that will combat the negative ones and ultimately root them out. The stronger the negative Vasanas, the greater the effort required. In cultivating positive Vasana to neutralize them, since the mind is an impulsive faculty, and a lot of our behavior is impulsive or habitual, being dictated by our vasanas. It is important for us to root out of those negative vasanas that make the mind extrovert and instead create vasana that make the mind introvert.
So I will again use little different words. It is important that make the mind unhealthy. Instead of extrovert, I have just used the word unhealthy. Root out negative vasanas that make the mind unhealthy and instead create vasanas that make the mind healthy. Okay, उतना ही मैंने उसको मेरे मन में मैंने चेंज कर दिया है. Okay. The usefulness of values. ये करके we can stop. This is why we have no, auntie, it is my turn. Everybody reads one heading. Yeah.
Okay.
This is why we have the values that we are taught in the Gita. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, rajavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham, sairyam, atma vinigraha, something, I don't remember now.
20 values.
So amanitva is humility. It is opposed to arrogance or pride. Pride is wrong thinking. Okay? Meaning, Swamiji has called it as an impulse. I will call it as wrong thinking. So, we need to cultivate humility. Damba, pretentiousness, is countered by adambitva, being honest and not pretending. Himsa is the tendency to violate or hurt or insult someone. So, we cultivate ahimsa, non-violence by thought and word and deed. Shanti, forgiveness or accommodation, is there to oppose violence or anger. Arjava, honesty and straightforwardness, is opposed to dishonesty. The negative tendencies are built into us and compel us to behave in certain ways. Here I will remind everybody of something. Okay, negative tendencies belong to Atma or they belong to mind?
Mind.
Yes, okay, very important. Negative tendencies belong to mind. Atma is pure, absolutely pure. In Atma, there is no negative tendency at all. In mind, all the negative tendency is possible. And what happens? The I sense goes and identifies with that negative tendency and acts upon it. Therefore, it becomes dangerous. Yeah. But remember always, as Vedanta students, that Atma is pure, Atma has no negative tendency. In fact, Atma is Purna, and therefore it is the repository of everything that is positive. Okay, it's Kalyana Guna Sampanna actually. But these negative tendencies belong to the mind because mind is ignorant. And in ignorance, all kinds of things the mind does, thinks all kinds of things, okay, has all kinds of experiences, and from those experiences gets all kinds of belief systems, and therefore mind has got lot of possibility that it has a lot of negative tendencies. Okay, so while negative tendencies are built into the mind, okay, they are not built into Atma iti. There are compulsions in the form of built-in patterns of thinking. Our decisions are often made impulsively, or I will call it mechanically. Even while making decisions, I may not be objective if my mind is controlled by those previous vasanas, okay, or controlled by ragadveshas. When we meet a person, we may have already have preconceived notions about them. But as Vinoba Bhave used to say, this is not yesterday's person. Yesterday he was like that, but how do you know he is also like that today? Therefore, meet every person as it is, as a fresh moment. Meet the same person in a fresh manner. Don't judge and derive conclusions based on your preconceived notions. Okay? Supposing somebody has told me that this fellow in front, who's staying in front of me, is a robber, he's a famous robber. Then, so I have my preconceived notion now कि ये तो चोर है. Now when I meet him, am I going to meet him with ये fresh person है अभी, उसमें कुछ वो कल का आदमी नहीं है, वो आज का फ्रेश आदमी है. ऐसे समझो भी हमारे अंदर हृदय इतनी बड़ी है कि हम ये कर पाते हैं, तो भी इट्स बेटर, इट्स वाइजर टू बी कॉशियस. ओके, इसलिए आप आपके घर की चाबी उसको नहीं देंगे. थोड़ी सी कॉशियस रहना ठीक है. ओके, फ्रेश पर्सन है, ऐसे मीट कर लो, पर थोड़ा कॉशियस रहना. ओके, all of these values are taught to us so that we can progressively become free from mechanicalness. Shama is freedom from mechanical reaction, which is also called as impulsiveness, and all the negative hurtful tendencies that create conflicts in us. So Shama is freedom from all the negative hurtful tendencies that create conflicts in us. If one is a conscientious person, such tendencies create regret and a sense of guilt. To become free from that, one needs a deliberate practice to release the mind from these tendencies. Okay, we can stop over there, no? Yeah, already 50 minutes. So this is very interesting that we need a deliberate practice, meaning we need to be deliberate. And another word for that is we live very consciously. Okay, instead of mechanically, we try to live more consciously. It's quite a tough thing to do, right? But we try our very best. For that, we can make a practice, maybe, that हम एक सुबह सुबह हम लिख लेते हैं हमारे इसमें कि for today, I will be compassionate and accommodative. Meaning, I will not indulge in anger just for today. This is a very nice thing. In the morning we can say, just for today I will be patient. just for today, whatever is one's weakness, you can, for me, impatience is a very big weakness. So just for today, I will be patient.
So
So
it is
we
like
take it in small steps at a time, just for today, किससे हम शुरू कर देंगे, just for today. So समझो just for today, आज हम लोग ने ऐसे किया, just for today, कल भी किया, परसों भी किया, ऐसे करते 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 हो जाएगा वो.
अभ्यास.
every day we should put in a capital letter in a
Very nice.
taste,
हाँ,
and that this is the vichar of the day.
विचार of the day, correct, and stick
And
it here and there.
it should be in a very bold words, and it should be both husband wife should look at that each time.
हम स्कूल
Yeah.
में बोर्ड पे लिखते थे today's thought.
मैं तो बोलूंगी put it wherever you can see it. तो आपके
नहीं,
फोन में रखो,
नहीं,
आप
और इसकी
फ्रिज
एक
पे
कॉपी,
रखो.
और इसकी एक कॉपी बाहर अपने मकान के बाहर भी लगा देंगे, so that our neighbors can also follow it.
ना उसके लिए नहीं, we don't want that we follow is enough. भले
Yeah,
दूसरे करे या ना करे. Neighbors, whether they'll be motivated to follow, वो भगवान ही जाने. Even if the spouse will be motivated to follow, भगवान ही जाने. We motivate ourselves to follow, उतना काफी है.
गुरु माँ,
हाँ.
वासनाएं आती कहाँ से हैं?
हमारे पास्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस और उसके पास्ट इम्प्रेशन से. हम जब इधर भगवान ने हमें भेजा है इधर, हम थोड़ी फ्रेश स्लेट लेके आए हैं. नो फ्रेश स्लेट.
No, so
पहले तो ये कब शुरू हुआ?
it is the part of the prarabdha, isn't it?
Part of the prakriti. We have come with it. We have come with it. And when did it begin? Anadikal se. But luckily it has an end when there is moksha.
नहीं, जो डॉक्टर साहब ने अभी पूछा है उसका मतलब ये है ना कि जो प्रारब्ध मुझे बॉडी के साथ मिले हैं, इट इज लाइक दैट सिम इन ए मोबाइल, that sim has come along with.
Prarabdha has brought you into this world with certain vasanas.
So it is then very difficult, because it is the accumulation of so many janmas.
Therefore, it is very wise to really understand Vedanta and really understand that you are Atma and you are not your Vasana. Iti. And therefore, understand Vasana is also Mithya. Don't make it real. All our difficult emotions are also Mithya. They are not itna real. हम उसके साथ ज्वाइन हो जाते हैं और हम फिर बोलते हैं इट इज सो रियल और फिर हम दुखी बन जाते हैं.
वो तो गुरु में आपने पढ़ाया कि all objective things are mithya, you see. Only I am only the reality, nothing else.
I am the only reality. This is what gives moksha. Only thing is, again and again we forget that and we begin to identify with, and it will keep happening until there is a certain level of clearing, decluttering from the mind. This will keep happening, that we will keep on forgetting and we will keep on again and again, because we are programmed that way over countless lifetimes. See? And therefore, each time keep coming back and seeing this fact that, okay, yes, it is true, I have this vasana. And someday will come when you say, so what? You'll be able to say that, so what? I mean, I'm teaching you something very dangerous, but ऐसा भी होगा एक दिन. क्या आप बोलेंगे कि ठीक है? And I think the time has come. हम लोग सबने इतना पढ़ा है ना, तो अभी वो so what का टाइम आ गया है. वे बोल दो, boldly बोल दो so what. We are not dangerous people with dangerous vasanas, जो लोग के अंदर बहुत डेंजरस वासनास है उनको हम ये सब विद्या ही नहीं दे सकते हैं. But for people who have been studying, who are dharmic people, who have been studying for a long time, finally you have to seriously tell them that, hey, come on, see. What is, why are this dukkha is there? What is omact? You're taking it as yourself. And therefore, no, somewhere in your heart, it is not you. So, now we come to that topic of kashaya. Kashaya means our deep unconscious, which will come up every now and then. It comes up, okay? सबके लिए वो आएगा, कोई ना कोई वस्तु होगा, वो ट्रिगर होगी, वो आएगी। जब वो आएगी, पहले तो हम उसके साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, मीन्स बिकॉज इट्स अनकॉन्शियस, इट्स कमिंग टू द कॉन्शियस नाउ, एंड देयरफॉर यू गेट आइडेंटिफाइड विद एंड यू सफर अलोंग विद इट. But after some time, with practice, you will be able to see that, oh, again, I made the same mistake again. Okay, you know, and you are able to say that this is Omak. This is an object. My Kashaya is also object. It is something I am seeing. It is what if it is at an energetic level, it is vritti form, etc., etc. And you will see it is Omak. I am the one who is objectified because I am changelessly present there. Therefore, I am able to see it. Otherwise, I won't be able to see it even. Okay? So I am the one who is illuminating it. I am not the illumined, I am the illuminator. Okay? You will be able to see that. But does that make the discomfort of the Kashaya go? Not necessarily. So learn to stay with it. So this is Shastra's advice. It's very tough advice. So if it is too tough, you do tapping. I'm feeling terrible. I'm feeling miserable. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that. That will go. Really, it goes. But it will be off and gone. If you are, but when we do the something like that, what happens is we are giving a certain reality to it. But it's okay, never mind. After that, you say that this is Kashaya, and I am not Kashaya. I am the one who illumines the Kashaya, I am not Kashaya. So if it is too tough, use some method, distract yourself, do yoga, go do something. जो भी कुछ है, अपने कषाय से face मत करो. If you don't face it, it will come up again. Anyway, it is going to come up again. But you can do that. But always in your cognitive self. Okay, ये याद रखना कि मैं मेरे कषाय नहीं हूँ, भले वो.
Any difference between Kashaya and Vasana? They are two different things.
No, same thing. But some kashaya means very uncomfortable. Vasana will lead you to ragadvesha, will ragadvesha. But kashaya also is nothing but actually vasana only. But kashaya is more feelings, it is feelings which have been suppressed, which are lying pent up in the system, pent up feelings, okay, which are there in the system, which one may have not processed. जैसे बचपन में कुछ हुआ होगा, आपने उसको प्रोसेस नहीं किया, वो पेंट अप फीलिंग है अंदर, आपने उसको दबा के रखा, और फिर आप हंस हंस के सबके साथ ये किया, मम्मी ने थप्पड़ दी, तो नेक्स्ट मोमेंट द चाइल्ड स्टार्ट स्माइलिंग, बट इट फेल्ट वेरी बैड, तो उसने वो उसको सप्रेस किया, और फिर बाद में कभी भी एक पिक्चर देखा जिसमें बच्चे को एक थप्पड़ मिला, तो उस टाइम पे आपका वो जो फीलिंग है वो बाहर आएगा, एंड यू विल नॉट यू बी सो सरप्राइज के ये तो पिक्चर है, इतना उसको थप्पड़ मिला, मुझे क्यों हो रहा है ये, बट इट इज सम पेंट अप फीलिंग व्हिच गॉट ट्रिगर्ड. या so this may come up for especially when we are serious students and all, it can come up, doesn't matter. Yeah? Okay, so Shastra only says be sakshi. उसको वॉच करो और वो अपने आप डिसिपेट हो जाएगा. Sometimes it can take 10 days to dissipate. So I would much rather do EFT. Okay. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om.